All right, good evening, everybody. I can see attendees starting to join us. We have a large number of people registered for tonight's webinar. Just to make sure that you are in the right spot, I am Carla Whitaker from CalSOAP. I'm part of the California Student Opportunity and Access Program. We are a college access nonprofit run through UC San Diego, and tonight we're going to be talking about scholarships. This is an appropriate webinar for any parent or student of any age or any staff member or college professional, but it is especially important for 12th graders. If you are a graduating high school senior, I know the time is coming when you're thinking a lot about paying for college and how are we going to pay for college, and scholarships are a really great way to do that. So I have a lot of information for you tonight about what is a scholarship, who funds them, how to make your scholarship application a strong one, and also what are some good resources for scholarships, especially what are some good local resources. And I'm actually really lucky that we have Lily Alcantara. She is here tonight. She's going to be talking a little bit about the San Diego Foundation, where she works. And the San Diego Foundation has several scholarships that she is going to highlight because one of them is open now, one of them is opening soon. And they're pretty exciting because the only, if you want to say quote unquote, competition is among other local students in San Diego County, which is a small pool instead of like a national or international pool of students. So I know a common question that we often get is that, where can is this being recorded? Yes, it is. And this recording, as well as the blog itself, as well as the slide deck, will be on our CalSOAP website starting tomorrow. I believe tomorrow or Friday we'll be able to post that. Also, if you look at the chat, you'll notice that you're not able to type in it, even though you're able to click on links in it, but you should have a Q&A at the bottom of your screen. If you do have any questions, please use the Q&A to type in any questions. And we have some great CalSOAP student staff members who are here with us. They are current college students themselves. And so Charmaine Ali and Daniela Hernandez, they're going to be helping to answer some of your questions in the Q&A if you have any. They will do their best. And if they can't answer them, they are going to unmute themselves and ask myself or Lily aloud so that we can answer those questions out loud for you. So once I start sharing my screen, I'm not actually able to look at the Q&A, but they are. And so Danny and Charmaine will be keeping track of that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I would like to introduce Lily. She will be highlighting what the San Diego Foundation is and some of the scholarships they have available. So Lily, I will let you introduce yourself and start talking about those, and then let me know when you're ready for me to share my screen and I can share the slides that have your information.
Hi, my name is Lily. I work for the San Diego Foundation. I am the scholarship administrator. So we are a team of 3. I am the person that works with you, the student, and the financial aids. So Carla, you can share the slide. Okay.
One moment.
Yes. Okay, to start off right now, we have a scholarship that is currently open before our common scholarship application. It is called the Kyoto Prize Scholarship. We award 3 recipients up to $10,000. So the thing with this is that you do have to write an essay. It is currently open now up until January 1st at midnight. So it's the 13th now. You still have some time. This is open to graduating high school students, public, private, Catholic, Christian schools. You need a minimum of 3.0 GPA. You'll also have to write the essay, which is 500 words, about the 3 Kyoto Prize laureates. They are also, if you have any questions, they also have a busing event, which I can email to Carla. Okay, next slide. Okay, so, this is the information that we currently have. The scholarship can be used for tuition, books, fees, room and board, other educational expenses. What other educational expenses mean is, say if you need to buy a laptop, if you are gonna become a nurse, you can use it for scrubs, as long as all of the other tuition fees, books is already paid for, then you can use it for those items. So next slide, please. Okay, so this is the big one, the Common Scholarship application. This is opening January 17, and we have, I believe, over 130 scholarships. So what this basically means is, instead of looking for a bunch of different scholarships and writing the same essays over and over, maybe misspelling your email or name along the way, you will only have to apply to one application, and it will match you based on your criteria or based on your answers to funds that we already have. So basically, it's a bunch of scholarships in one. One thing that I really want to mention about this is on the next page. I'm gonna skip the next page. I'm just gonna talk about it right now.
Okay, this is the last one I have for
okay.
comment. Yeah.
So it's number 1, the power of demographic information. On the application, let me pull up my document because I have my wording. So on our application, we have this section called demographics. And first and foremost, I like to say that nothing on this application is ever shared. So part of my job, I create a report based on those demographics that are applied. And I always say a handful of students prefer not to answer. So say if they ask, oh, are you a foster student? You can either say yes, no, prefer not to answer. Or what is your ethnicity? You could say, was it Black, Asian, prefer not to answer. And I see a lot of students say prefer not to answer. And this, I hopefully like to change, because this actually limits their opportunities to certain scholarships, which they may qualify for. One of the most beautiful aspects of our society is diversity. This extends to various aspects, including like ethnicity, race, sexual identity. When you answer demographic questions, you contribute to a more accurate representation of our diverse community. And this actually helps you in the end because, for example, my daughter is Chinese, Filipino, and Vietnamese. So if she were to answer those questions on the application, it actually opens up, I think, about 13 scholarships, which the criteria is multi-ethnic. So if you put prefer not to answer, or if she wrote prefer not to answer, she's missing out on those 13 opportunities that she already has a leg up for. So we understand that some students may feel hesitant about disclosing certain personal information, and that's perfectly okay. The prefer not to answer option is there to respect your privacy. However, it's crucial to know that by sharing this information, you open doors to numerous opportunities that may align with your background. So say if your parents are, you are going to be a first generation college student. That opens many doors. Like we have a lot of scholarships that are wanting to award to first gen students. We have some scholarships for those that have military background. Say if your parents served, if you were a foster youth student or even former foster youth student. What else is there? If you are part of any college access program. So there's many opportunities in this section. Let's see. I also like to highlight that by answering these questions, you actually help the community by possibly opening new scholarships, because they will see key groups that may need more help. So, and yeah, okay. Let's see. The last thing I like to talk about is the FAFSA. For us, you need to apply for the FAFSA in order to apply for the Common Scholarship application. So from what I know so far, FAFSA is not opening until by December 31st. So
Correct.
Keyword by, we don't really know when, but it's by December 31st. and our application is open January 17th. So it's cutting it very close. But what you can do right now is create a FAFSA user ID. If you create one now, it takes about, from what I understand, 3 days before you can even use it. So you don't want to wait until December 31st, create an ID, or say January 17 when we open, you create an ID and then you have to wait 3 days. So you can't even really do anything. So if I can give any advice right now, create an ID. So let's see. To talk about the CSA really quick, we open January 17. We're going to be closing March 6th at 2 p.m. and that is a hard deadline. And when I say hard deadline, that means I always get a flood of emails at 1:58 even after 2 p.m. saying I've had trouble, but that's exactly why we close at 2 p.m. so we can help certain students, but we will not take any late submission. So if you don't have your letter of recommendation, I'm sorry, there's no luck. So January 17th, please put that on your calendars. I think that's all.
All right, I just wanted to ask Danny and Charmaine, are there any questions in the Q&A for Lily? Like any questions about the Kyoto or the San Diego Foundation Common Scholarship application that we should have her address?
Oh,
There's no
sorry.
questions right now. Sorry.
Carla will be sending out a PDF tomorrow where you can sign up for my email list. And if you're on my email list, I will be sending out the 2 essay prompts that are on our website right now, actually, but I will send them personally through email. If you go on our current sdfoundation.org and go to our student website, under resources, you can see a PDF version of our application. So I will also be emailing that out.
All right.
Mhm.
Thank you. All right, Lily, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you coming, and hopefully people will spread the word about these scholarships and we can get some San Diego County students involved in applying for them. So thank you very much. And yes, when Lily emails me, I will share that with everybody who is here tonight. I will make sure to send that in an email to you. So thank you to the San Diego Foundation, and Lily, thank you for your time tonight. And I'm going to go on and continue into scholarships.
Thank you. Create your FAFSA IDs. Bye.
Yes, it's time. All right, bye-bye. So college, we look at it as an investment. However, college can mean a lot of different things. It doesn't have to mean a bachelor's with a 4-year degree. It could be an associate's degree, a certificate. It could be a bachelor's. Maybe it's beyond a bachelor's. Maybe you have to get a master's or a credential or a doctorate. It depends on what kind of job or career you're looking for. But college is not free. So in some way or another, we have to pay for it. And so we want to talk about, beyond financial aid, what are scholarships? How can scholarships help you? So scholarship dollars greatly help reduce the amount of student debt so that you don't have to borrow, hopefully, and take out a loan to go to college. A scholarship is free money that you don't have to pay back. And scholarships can be used at all the systems of higher education. In other words, if you say, for example, you got a San Diego Foundation scholarship awarded to you, you could use that at a community college, at a CSU like San Diego State, at a UC like UC San Diego, at a private college like the University of San Diego or University of Southern California, a vocational school, even an out-of-state college or university. You can take that scholarship anywhere. And also college scholarships can be stacked, meaning if you get multiple scholarships, you can take all of them with you, so to speak, to whatever college you go to, and you can usually use them all, at least up to the cost of attendance. So one thing before considering scholarships that all have independent applications, the biggest one we want you to make sure to fill out is either the FAFSA or the DREAM Act, okay? So a lot of scholarships, such as the San Diego Foundation Scholarship, in order to apply for their scholarship, they want you to have filled out the FAFSA or the DREAM Act. Now, I'll explain in a second what those are, but the FAFSA stands for Free Application For federal student aid, that's if the student has a social security number. If the student does not have a social security number, they would fill out a form called the CATA, or the California Dream Act application. They basically ask the same questions. The only difference is that if you are a citizen or eligible non-citizen, you could be eligible for both federal and state funding. If you are what we would call a dreamer, like for example, maybe you don't have a social security number, or maybe your status is undocumented at this time, you still would qualify for state financial aid, like a Cal grant from California. You just would not qualify for federal aid, but you would still qualify for state aid. Now, normally the priority deadline is March 2nd every year. March 2nd, the FAFSA is due and the CATA is due. This year, it's going to be April 2nd because the FAFSA is opening later than usual. Typically, the FAFSA and DREAM Act open October 1st. This year, they don't open until December 31st. So yes, New Year's Eve, that's when it apparently will be going online. So a little bit more about this. I would say probably 95% of students are eligible to fill out either the FAFSA or the DREAM Act. So they want to do one of those two. There are a few students who cannot. Pardon me. If the student holds a temporary non-immigrant visa, like an F visa or a J visa, unfortunately, they're not eligible for the FAFSA or the DREAM Act. If they do not meet AB 540 requirements, in other words, if they have not been in a California high school or a California resident 3 years or more. So what would these students do if they cannot fill out a FAFSA or a DREAM Act? They would need to rely on family savings or loans or scholarships that don't consider their residency status. There's also another form they might be eligible to fill out called the CSS profile that is accepted at a lot of private and out-of-state universities. So that would be the option there. Okay, so nobody fills out both of these forms. For everybody, it's an either or. It's one or the other. So you would fill out the FAFSA if the student, regardless of the parent, doesn't matter, but if the student is a US citizen or a permanent resident or has a T visa, any of those situations would qualify the student to fill out the FAFSA. If the student is undocumented or is DACA status, has a U visa or a TPS, temporary protected status, they would fill out the DREAM Act application. Pardon me. All right. Are there any financial aid forms in addition to the FAFSA or the DREAM Act? Yes, as I mentioned, there's something called the CSS profile. It does cost $25 to fill out, plus $16 per college. However, if your family income is under $100,000 a year, you will probably qualify for a fee waiver so that it would be free. And I'll give you some examples of colleges that request a CSS profile, like Caltech, Columbia, Duke, Harvard, MIT, USC, many, many more. All right, one moment. Give me one moment. I'm just going to get some water and I will be right back. All right, apologies. Okay, let me go back to my screen and we will continue. Okay, so where does scholarship money come from? It can come from the government, like the state or federal government. It can come from a college itself. It can come from private donors, businesses, and organizations. Basically, a scholarship is free money that does not need to be paid back, and it will be awarded based on whatever criteria reflects the values or purpose of the donor or the founder of the award. It does not need to be repaid. It is not a loan. So the way scholarships work is if you get one, most scholarships are paid directly to the student's college financial aid office, and then they're dispersed to the student. So if it has to cover something like tuition and fees, that's the first thing it automatically goes toward. But if say tuition and fees are covered and there's excess scholarship money, it might go back to the student as an actual deposit in their bank account so that they can then use it if they need to do something like pay for rent, pay for food, pay for a computer, pay for supplies. Some scholarships are renewable annually, but some are one time only. You'll see there's a lot out there for high school seniors that are just one time only, and they help a lot your freshman year, but you might have to seek additional funding for current college students for your sophomore year and above. You can accept and use multiple different scholarships simultaneously. So if you're offered 1, 2, 3, 5 different scholarships, you can use them all. Okay. Most colleges will allow aid, your scholarships, grants, etc., to cover up to the cost of attendance, but not exceed that amount. Now, the cost of attendance, so that's not just tuition and fees. That also includes rent. That also includes food. That also includes transportation, health insurance, and regular expenses. So the cost of attendance is actually a lot higher than just the cost of tuition. It's kind of like the cost of living. But a lot of scholarships can go not just to tuition, but also above and beyond to those other things. So what are some factors that might make a student eligible for a scholarship? There are literally dozens and dozens and dozens of different things that different donors or organizations might ask the student for information about, or they might be targeting a certain group of students. For example, it might be a scholarship for males or females. It might have to do with your gender or your sexual orientation. It might have to do with your financial need. It might have to do with your citizenship. It might be specific to just your high school, just your city or county, like the San Diego Foundation is just specific to students in San Diego County. It might have to do with your background, heritage, race, ethnicity, whether you're a veteran or maybe the student, the child of a veteran, military or descendant, maybe your religious affiliation. So if you go to a church, a synagogue, a mosque, a faith-based organization, they might have their scholarships for those students. If you are a member in a certain organization, a lot of times they're going to ask for your GPA, maybe a test score, your sports if you've been involved in them, like especially for athletic scholarships. It might be based on your work experience, your hobbies, any community service you've done, your abilities or disabilities, any special skills or talents, leadership ability, college and career goals, where you want to go to college. All of those things might be possible things that they ask about on a scholarship application. Sometimes there are awards that are specific to a certain college if you go there. For example, the UC system has a scholarship called the Blue and Gold, which covers your UC tuition. UC San Diego, as part of that Blue and Gold, they have an additional one called the CASP, or the Chancellor's Associate Scholarship Program, that is for the tuition as well as other expenses. Say you were to go to a community college like San Diego City College, they have something called the Promise, which is for the tuition and fees, basically 2 years of full-time tuition that are completely covered if you get the Promise scholarship at a community college. So sometimes it might be specific to the college you are going to. This is an example of the Promise. I know these were the dates for 2023, but they're basically the same for 2024. So the community college applications are starting to open up in January. And when you apply to a community college, they'll also ask you, are you filling out the FAFSA or the DREAM Act? And are you applying for the Promise? And of course, you always want to put yes, because the Promise basically makes up to 2 years of free tuition and health fees. And sometimes it even gives you above and beyond that, like book grants, access to peer mentors and coaches. And it's for anybody basically who's gone to high school in California, who's graduating and who's going to start full time at a community college. So it's a pretty awesome program. It makes college extremely affordable. It also makes it so maybe you can get your first 2 years covered, even if you plan to transfer to a 4-year for your junior and senior year. This would at least make your freshman and sophomore tuition covered at a community college. And every community college system in California has some form of the Promise. All right, what if you are an athlete? If you are a student athlete, there are many athletic scholarships out there, either for specific sports or maybe at specific colleges, maybe even that apply to your specific high school or maybe private ones. A good place to start looking to find out about athletic funding and athletic scholarships is NCAA, especially if you're interested in playing at an NCAA as an athlete in college, like at a Division I, II, or III school. If you go to the NCAA website, they have an athletic scholarship section, and you can start finding out about those athletic scholarships. And of course, your counselor and the coach of your sport, those are also usually very good sources to go to. All right. Academic awards. These might be awarded by your college or by your high school based on things like academic achievement, like if you show outstanding promise in a certain subject, such as like history or math or chemistry. Some colleges have specific departments that they're trying to attract or retain certain students. And so maybe the English department, the biology department, the economics department, computer science, psychology, music, you name it, engineering, these departments might be offering specific scholarships because they're trying to recruit or retain certain students to who they want you to go to that college and major in that major. Of course, there are thousands of private organizations that offer scholarships, and they may be teeny tiny, like a $50, $100. They all add up. It's great. It's free money. Or it might be tens or thousands of dollars. It just depends. So there are corporations and businesses that also offer scholarships. They might be to the community in general, or they might be, like, for example, to the children of employees of that business. These are examples, and when I post the slide deck, these actually will go to links so that you can go to the Google Scholarship, the Dell Scholarship. These companies are examples of technology type companies, Raytheon, Adobe, Microsoft, that all offer some type of scholarship at a national level. There are also corporations involved in the food and beverage industry. So for example, McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell, Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper, these all have scholarships that they offer. Also automotive corporations like Toyota, BMW, GM, Shell, Chevron, they all offer scholarships as well. So I will have these ready and linked for you that we'll be posting on our website tomorrow so that you can actually check these out. And again, if one of these is a place that you're interested in working, or maybe a parent of yours worked there, something like that, then it might be a good idea to look up those scholarships. Also, if you're affiliated with a religious or faith-based or spiritual-based organization, they often award scholarships to help their members with college. So if you or your family are affiliated with a specific group, find out, ask them, ask if there's like a youth pastor, for example, ask if they know about, do we have scholarships? Is there a scholarship here that I can apply to through this religious organization? Your high school is also a really good place. There might be scholarships specifically to just your high school. That's a very small pool of applicants, or maybe your school district. And again, your high school guidance counselor is a good person or if you have one, a college and career tech or college and career counselor can often give you information about these types of scholarships that might be really specific to your school or your area. Also, most cities have a chamber of commerce. Some of them even have multiple chambers of commerce. Like, for example, in San Diego, not only is there a general chamber of commerce, there's also a Black chamber of commerce and a Latinx chamber of commerce. And they might be a good source of information or scholarships as well. And then there's many other private organizations, like, for example, the United Negro College Fund is one. There are dozens, maybe hundreds of private organizations that offer scholarships. The military is another source. There's a lot of military organizations that work either directly as part of the military or related, family of military, dependents of military. If you yourself are a military member, a lot of times you can go to college, at least at a public college or university, with free tuition because of the GI Bill. But there are also special breaks on tuition for the dependents of these students. And of course, it's going to depend. Like, for example, you would have a full full tuition paid if you had a parent, for example, who died serving in the military, or if they were disabled in the line of duty. If you go to the CalVet website, calvet.ca.gov, it'll start giving you the specific categories of how dependents of military members might be eligible for scholarships. There are also, if you're going into the ROTC program, like you want to, as a student, you want to join the military later and you want to do a college ROTC program, a lot of times there are ROTC scholarships that can pay up to the full college tuition and additional money as well. All right. Okay. So the first thing you want to do is kind of get ready, get your own information organized. You want to create a resume for yourself, which is usually just 1 page. We don't want a resume longer than 1 page. 1 page is good. It would include your education, any employment if you've had any. It's okay if you haven't. Any honors or awards, extracurricular activities, and community service. A lot of times they might ask for a letter of recommendation. So if you don't have the letter itself, maybe have people in mind that you can give a resume to and ask them, a teacher, a counselor, a coach, a minister, anything like that. You'll probably need a copy of your transcript because they might ask you for your classes and grades. They might ask you to write an essay. So keep a collection of these essays that you can sometimes recycle and reuse and massage them slightly to change them. And then, of course, have a list of scholarship deadlines, because that's the most important thing. Honestly, any scholarship organization will tell you is probably the most important thing for them is turning it in on time. So you want to kind of start gathering and organizing them chronologically. Okay, which ones are due in December? Which ones are due in January? Which ones are due in February? So again, these are the different application components that they might ask for. If it's some kind of like arts type of thing, they might ask for even sample work or project submission. They might ask for grade transcripts. They might ask for an interview, an essay. There's lots of different things that they could ask for. So where can you find these scholarships? Online is really the best place in this day and age to search. There are a lot of websites. Social media is another good one. If you follow CalSOAP, for example, on social media, we are all the time posting scholarships, internships, any opportunities that we hear about. Also, your counselors, teachers, and community groups. If you have a career center or counseling office at your high school, that's a great place. And also your peers. Start asking other students, especially if you know older students who are in college now, start asking them, hey, what social media account did you find out about a scholarship? Or where did you get a scholarship? Like, where should I start looking? So social media is a really good place these days to look, and asking peers, asking teachers and counselors, etc. These are some of the main ones that I really want to emphasize that are a great source of scholarships. Of course, ours, calsoapsandiego.org, under the Pay for College tab, we have a scholarship section where we list scholarships, and we do our best to list them by deadline. So they should be ones that are generally due, like I said, here's the ones due in December, here's the ones due in January and February, etc. And you can also use the Control F feature, the find feature. If you're, for example, if you are African American, if you are Latina, if you are interested in science, if there's anything, if you do community service, if you do a certain sport, if you're interested in journalism, you can type that word in and find out which scholarships maybe list that as a component. So CalSOAP San Diego is a good place to go. For a good national database, I really recommend fastweb.com. FastWeb lets you enter your profile, all the information about you, and then based on that, they will give you back a list of, well, here's scholarships that sound like you might qualify for them. So FastWeb, I definitely recommend. Also, College Board Opportunity Scholarship is a great one because it doesn't require an essay. It doesn't require a GPA. It doesn't require a transcript. It literally is just you signing up to do things like create a college list, create a scholarship list, fill out the FAFSA, apply to colleges. And every time you do those things, your name goes into a literal drawing, a monthly drawing. And every month they have $500 scholarships that they draw, but then they also have ones that are more like that are $2,000. And then if you do everything by the end of your senior year, they even have a $40,000 scholarships that are available. So opportunity at College Board is a good one. Just what you would think, scholarships.com is legit. And of course, if you're looking for ones in San Diego, sdfoundation.org, where Lily was from tonight, definitely go there. Also, calkids.org. If you are low income and you go to a public school, then you should be going to calkids.org to see if you can get up to $1,500 of money from the government. That is a scholarship that can be used at any college that you want. And yeah, just go to calkids.org and see, enter some information and see if you qualify. All right. Yes, like I said, San Diego Foundation, sdfoundation.org. Okay, so which scholarships should you apply to? You have to understand yourself, like who am I and what are they looking at? Who is my audience? Like what are they looking for? Okay. What kind of makes you special or what makes you different? Is there something unique about you that will distinguish you from another candidate? Okay, that's something that you want to be able to express in something like an essay. Now, you don't have to necessarily fit into one of these categories, but this is kind of a theme, if you will, of what a lot of students fall into one or more of these categories. And maybe that's something you can really lean on when you're describing yourself in something like a scholarship essay. Maybe you are the do-gooder. In other words, you are really into doing good for your community. Maybe you do community service. Maybe you have a social justice cause or an environmental cause or something that you're passionate about. Maybe you have a great creative talent. You are amazing at chess. You are amazing at playing the ukulele. You have some kind of creative talent that you do. You could be a survivor. Maybe you've had challenges and difficulties in your life, but you have remained strong and you've survived it and you are still thriving and you want to go on to college. The brainiac, somebody who's really academic, especially maybe in a certain subject. If that describes you, that might be the kind of theme that you want to emphasize. Maybe you are an activist, okay, somebody who's interested in supporting a certain cause. Maybe the major or what you want to study has to do with that cause. Maybe you're an entrepreneur. Maybe you have your own business or you want to start business, go into business. Maybe you want to study entrepreneurship, political science, economics. If that is you, that could be what you write about. You could be a leader, whether it's a formal leader like a president, a vice president. It could be a team captain. It could be a shift leader at your job. It could be a leader within your family if you're raising younger siblings. Maybe you're into the sciences. Science is hot right now in STEM scholarships. There's a lot of STEM related scholarships out there. So if you're interested in a certain type of science or all the sciences, you'll probably find scholarships related to that. And then finally, if you are an athlete, if you are a student athlete, especially if you maybe want to go on and continue, practicing athletics in college or competing for the college or in college, then that might be a good way to go. So what are they going to judge it on? Every scholarship is different. And so every scholarship committee might have different criteria for what they're going to judge based on. But these are 10 that are pretty universal, that are pretty common across many different types of scholarships. They want to see evidence that a student has worked hard, that you have overcome obstacles, that you can participate and work as a team member, that you can persevere in the face of adversity, that you take individual initiative, that you have a passion or an enthusiasm for something in your life, that you show responsibility. Sometimes civic duty is important. And sometimes something like purpose and character, showing great character. Those are some of the characteristics that they might be looking at. So a couple things to remember, apply for as many scholarships as possible. I know sometimes it feels like a second job or a second way, a second class that you're taking at school that you didn't have to take before, like applying to scholarships. It's its own job. That's true, but it is free money that you don't have to pay back. And there's not a lot of times in your life when you can just fill out a form and get free money in that way. Also, don't neglect smaller local scholarships. Sometimes you're going to be more likely to get those. You can bridge multiple applications and recycle. So if you use an essay for one scholarship, you might be able to make a couple adjustments or changes in it and use a similar essay for another scholarship if they require it. Keep track of it. Keep track of which ones you applied to and when. If you have extra time in class, if you have extra time when you're waiting for the trolley, extra time, any time that you have that extra time, it's a good time to think about, applying for scholarships or even just researching and learning about them. Learn by example. If other people are applying for scholarships, ask them for help and ask them, you know, what scholarship did you apply to? Maybe you can apply to that too, or something similar, and stick with it. I know again, I know it's a stressful time your senior year, but this is for free money, and free money is a good thing. All right. It's a process. It takes time. You can't do it all in one day. And unfortunately, even though the FAFSA and DREAM Act have a definite deadline and it's just once a year, March 2nd or April 2nd, scholarships are all different. A lot of times they have rolling deadlines, or they could be due at any time of the year. I do want to just give a little word of warning that sometimes there are also scholarship scams out there. So do be cautious. One thing to be cautious of is if they notify you by phone. If you've applied for a specific scholarship and you listed your phone number on that application, and then soon after that, you're getting a call from that organization, that might be legitimate. However, if you're being notified by phone of an organization that doesn't sound familiar to you, I would be very cautious and very wary before sharing any information with them. Also, if the scholarship costs money to apply to it, if they're like, well, there's a $75 fee for this scholarship, but you're guaranteed to get some type of scholarship, be very cautious about that. Those generally tend to be not legitimate. Now, the CSS profile does have a small fee, but also a lot of families qualify for a fee waiver. If they say something like everyone will get a scholarship or everybody is eligible, to me, that sounds like a pyramid scheme and not sustainable. So I would be cautious. And the kind of personal information that they might request that you definitely do not want to give out is your social security number, anything like a password, or banking information. Okay, so those are things that are especially that you need to keep private. You're only going to ever enter something like your social security number on a secure government website that ends in .gov that has a little picture of the lock in the URL. Okay, so although you will give them your social, you don't want to give it out to just anybody. Okay, so do be aware of possible scams. All right, just a couple final thoughts. Institutions differ in how they apply outside grant and scholarship funds. So once you've decided on a college, you want to communicate with a financial aid office about, hey, I'm bringing these scholarships in. Will it affect my aid from you? Or is there anything I need to do to bring these scholarships with me? Again, sometimes once your school, things like tuition is paid for, a lot of times that money will go back to you so you could pay for a book or a computer or rent or food or whatever. Let's see. And of course, deadlines. Deadlines are always a big thing in the financial aid and scholarship world. So make sure you're keeping up with that. I do want to encourage you to follow CalSOAP. We have a website, calsoapsandiego.org. We're also on X, formerly Twitter, and Facebook at San Diego CalSOAP. And we're on Instagram at CalSOAP San Diego. And we do try to list things like scholarships, internships, and opportunities as often as we can on our social media channels. And of course, our website, calsoapsandiego.org. If you go there, there is a scholarship information tab where we're specifically keeping a list of scholarships that hopefully will be helpful for you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And, oops, sorry, give me one moment. Okay, is there anything in the Q&A or any questions that people have right now that we could address that haven't been addressed yet?
I don't see any questions in the chat as of now.
Okay. All right, well then we are a little bit early, but I will go ahead and end the webinar now. As I said, the slide deck will be available beginning tomorrow on calsoapsandiego.org on the blog section. And as well as this recording itself will be there. So if there's someone that didn't get to see it and you want to share it with them, the actual recording will be there, the slide deck and the information from Lily from the San Diego Foundation. Thank you everybody for attending tonight. Thank you to Charmaine and Danny for helping out. I appreciate it. And I will go ahead and end the webinar for now. Good night.